In this video, I'm going to show you how to screen off food plots and how to keep the deer feeling safe and secure in their food plots while they're feeding. So I just got this switchgrass in the ground, just this whole line right here, and then we actually have my tree stand. It's not up yet, but the tree that I have my tree stand in, I have a switchgrass path that goes right to that stand, so that way I can get into this stand, not just to make sure that the deer feels safe in the food plot, but I can use it to my advantage as well to get into my stand without them seeing me. Even if they're all the way in the back of the food plot and I'm being really quiet, the deer will not be able to see me, and I can slip in here. Not that I would do that, but just that I could if I needed to. So these screenings for food plots, screening your food plots off, I screen every one of my food plots off just to make sure that the deer feel safe. If they don't feel safe in your food plots, then they're not going to want to come to your food plots. They're going to go somewhere else where they have that safe, secure cover while they're feeding. And so that's what we're doing here this year. And so last year we still had a bunch of bucks in here, but now this year we're not necessarily working on clearing out food plots like we did last year. But this year I'm making sure I'm screening a bunch of stuff off. Mowing switchgrass soon. I have bedding screen in here. I have screens coming into my stand locations. So this is really just my year of doing a lot of screenings, so that way I can make the deer feel safe and let them have more cover, which is really important. And I can also get into my stands without them seeing me and spooking deer. So I didn't spook a deer last year anyways, but just making sure that that doesn't happen, just putting the switchgrass in here. So as you can see, this whole line goes all the way to the tree line back there. And so this is going to be 4 to 5 foot tall switchgrass this year. And so next year it will be close to 6 when we mow it again. But just planted this in the ground. We've had a bunch of rain. This is making this video right now. I'm in between rainstorms, so we have a bunch more rain coming in. So that's really important, making sure when you're putting your switchgrass down, or any seed for that matter, making sure that rain is in the forecast for the next couple days. We have 3 days of rain forecasted, so hopefully we get some good germination on this switchgrass. So like I said, the switchgrass screen goes all the way back here. So we're going to have a total screen across this whole food plot. It's going to be about this tall, so the deer will not be able to see past this unless they go through the switchgrass. We also have the house in the barn up here about 200 yards away, 250 yards away, give or take. But especially during the late season, when all the vegetation dies, all the green stuff dies, you can really see the barn and the house clearly. And so that didn't really seem to affect the deer at all, but just making sure that they still feel safe, and even predators out in the fields over here. But we're screening off a bunch of spots this year. So using this switchgrass, I broadcasted pretty heavy on this to make sure I had a really good screen. And like I said, the screen, you can't see it, but it wraps around and goes to my tree where I'm going to have my tree stand in. So this tree stand's really close to the food plot. And so I really wanted to make sure that I could slip in and out without the deer seeing me, without spooking deer. And so I had a bunch of bucks on camera on this food plot. I shot my target buck out of this food plot. But you can always tell if you're hunting the right way if you have buck camera, or if you have trail camera pictures of deer the next day, the same night that you hunted. And so I did have a couple. I knew I was hunting well because I had cameras. I had pictures of does and bucks coming in while after I hunted. So I knew that they felt safe in here after I hunted. I knew I was hunting quietly. I took every precaution to make sure I got into my stand quietly. And that's with any stand. You always want to make sure that you're hunting as quiet as possible. And so along with the switchgrass screen, we have a hybrid willow and red cedar screen right here. So this screen the hybrid willow screen will take about 5 years to reach good height. And then the red cedar screen will take close to 10 years. But after 5 years, they'll still offer a good amount of cover. And so we did this hybrid willow and red cedar mixed screen in bedding areas, a bunch of spots, so that way we can have secure cover on this property. And so the switchgrass will really take about 2 years to reach full maturity and full height. And then the hybrid willows and red cedars will take about roughly 7 years with the red cedars and the hybrid willows. Hybrid willows need about 5 years, and the red cedars need about 7 to 10 years. So hopefully those grow really well, and I can't wait to see how this screen does. But even if the trees don't do well, we'll still have this switchgrass screen here, and that will be plenty good. But just having that tree screen as well will be even better. And so we also have corn. We have some corn that's screening off the pasture, and so if there's predators trying to get in or seeing in, the deer won't be able to see out and the predators won't be able to see in. So that's a really good use of that corn. But I'm not going to use that corn as a screen to access my tree stand. If I use that corn to access my tree stand, I have a risk of spooking those deer. If they're eating on this early while I'm accessing my stand, then I'm going to spook them because I'm using that corn as a screen. You never use food as a screen because you can always spook deer using that food as screening. So non-entering or exiting screens using corn is really good to make sure that you have a good screen and good quality food during the late season, so that way predators won't be able to see in and deer won't be able to see in, but you cannot use that corn as a screen to get into your stand. And then second screen, we have the switchgrass all the way across, and this is probably the best screen, lowest budget screen, fastest screen that works. And so we have this screen in a bunch of places for bedding and tree stand access. So you can use this as both of those. And then for the third screen, we have hybrid willows and red cedar trees. So that will be an also really good screen. That's more of a long-term screen for this food plot. You can also use shrubs. I don't like using those as much, especially as bedding areas. But if they're food shrubs, then you cannot use that as a screen because those deer can eat on that while you're trying to access, and then you'll spook them because they were eating on it when you were accessing your stand. I know silky dogwood is mostly deer resistant, so you can use that as that's a great bush to use as a screening into access or bedding areas or anything like that. But making sure that you're screening off access to your stands and screening off food plots is really critical to make sure that you're not spooking deer. And if you're spooking deer, then there's no reason to hunt them because you're not going to get mature bucks. You're not going to be able to have mature bucks on your land or shoot mature bucks. You might have a doe here and there, a small buck here and there, a surprise mature buck during the rut, but you're not going to have a good, successful season with mature bucks throughout the whole season if you're spooking deer. So not spooking deer applies with access and screens. If you're screening off your access, especially, then you won't spook deer and you'll have a really good hunt this season.